Thank you very much. I am pleased to rise in support of this legislation. I want to thank Mr. Frelinghuysen and Ms. Lowy and all the subcommittee chairs and ranking members for the work that they have done to get us to this place. This vote we are about to take represents an example of how members of this House can work together to reach a reasonable compromise and deliver a product that reflects both rationality and reasonableness. It is clear from recent history that Democratic members' participation is absolutely essential if we're going to pass fiscal bills and appropriation bills. And I'm glad that the Republican leadership and negotiators came to that conclusion and worked with us to advance this omnibus to the floor. I will support this omnibus funding bill. It's not a perfect bill, but no bill that we bring to the floor is a perfect bill. It is, however, a compromise that includes provisions that Democrats and Republicans want to see passed. It does not include poison pill riders that would prevent Democratic support or, frankly, Republican support. It does not fund President Trump's border wall, which, of course, he had promised the American people that they would not pay for. Furthermore, it includes critical funding for health benefits for America's coal miners and their families, and it funds Puerto Rico's Medicaid challenge. This omnibus also adds additional funding for the National Institutes of Health, something that all of us ought to support, including Vice President Biden's cancer moonshot, as well as Pell Grants, disaster relief, international famine aid, and funding to fight opioid addiction. It is a product of frank and thorough negotiations conducted by Ranking Member Nita Lowey and Chairman Rodney Frelinghuysen, both of whom are positive leaders of the Appropriations Committee and of this House. I congratulate them and their staffs for their hard work to reach this funding agreement. But the Congress should not have waited this long to act, Mr. Speaker. It is now 7 months into the fiscal year. We should not allow this to happen again. It has happened too often, and it has happened under both parties. But it is not the way to run the greatest enterprise on earth, the federal government of the United States of America. We must get back to dealing with appropriation bills in a timely and discreet manner, appropriation bill by appropriation bill. It is important that we segue from these successful negotiations into talks in the same spirit of compromise to pass appropriation bills through regular order for fiscal year 2018 before the end of September. And we are very late in doing this process. I was very much alarmed by President Trump's tweet yesterday suggesting that he would welcome a government shutdown. It is this kind of flippant, uninformed, and irresponsible approach, as opposed to what ought to be serious bipartisan process, that puts us again and again at the 11th hour, often months past the original deadline, trying to keep the government open. We ought to do better. We must do better. And I hope the bipartisan process that brought us to this omnibus bill will show us that we can do better. And in that context, I want to again thank Mr. Frelinghuysen, with whom I've served for a long period of time, both on the committee and as a colleague in the House of Representatives. And I want to thank Ms. Lowy, with whom I served for 23 years on the Appropriations Committee, and with whom I've served in my capacity as leader and herself as a leader on the Appropriations Committee. This represents today what the Congress ought to be, how it ought to work, and what the American people expect. As we vote today on this bill, let us say to us individually, to ourselves, let us continue this kind of cooperative, positive, constructive work. And I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman's time has expired. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from New Jersey.